issuing titles, which is not just producing the title as per, we will go back, we normally have to go back with a surveyor to establish the beacons. Once the beacons are established, including elaborate mapping and survey, then we are able to do titling. That's why you can see the process is a bit slow, but also we need more funding for this particular activity. The titling started in 2019 for all schools. I mean, the direction was given by the head of state then. Thank you.
Thank you, CS. Honourable members, Thank
you.
CS. Honourable senators, you know our standing orders has allocated 20 minutes per each question. The CS has 3 questions. You also have another CS for energy who is also appearing this morning. So I want to give maybe 2 more supplementaries. Senator Boni Karwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to congratulate the Minister. It's long since we last met Madam CS. I'm truly impressed with the professional manner in which you go around discharging as a cabinet secretary. It's something the government really needs. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I recall CS when I was Member of Parliament in Ekolomani, and I believe this applies to other members of Parliament in office today. I opened 7 new secondary schools and 16 new primary schools for which I bought land and built. And the challenge we have had, Madam Minister, is that some of the plots that were acquired require succession. And because it is public land becoming, private land becoming public land, the people who received the money from us are not willing to come to court so as to assist us in the normal transfer. Is there affirmative action, a directive that the ministry can give to help such a school so that they can be assisted in titling Madam CS?
Madam CS.
Yeah, thank you. To the Honorable Senator Harware, Kakamega Senator, Honorable Speaker, I think that is a succession dispute or issue, not necessarily a dispute, but a succession process that has to go through the court. I think the best way is to possibly collect the necessary information, the schools, names that have those challenges in your county, and then the owners of the land. If the cases are in court, we can have the details of the court cases by way of a letter and all necessary details pertaining to those school titlings. And I will be able, I have of course a counsel, a litigation counsel in my office. They will be able to liaise with the Attorney General and the Office of the Public Trustee. And I'm sure we can it will take a bit of time, but it is doable. Sometimes it just requires to call the family that has either donated the land or that has sold the land and sit with them, and then you find a solution. I am willing to take up that exercise if I'm given the necessary information. We can liaise with you, Honorable Senator.
Thank you. Last one by Senator Kavidu Agnes. No, Honorable Senators, let me give further guidance because the CS has 2 more questions. To make progress, we can go to the next question, and then I will request the CS to, even if the question can come on titling of the public schools, still should be able to handle that. So to make progress, let's get the last one from Senator Agnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first of all want to congratulate Madam CS for the good work that she's doing. But at the same time, I have complaints about Machakos, the registrar office, for issuing title deeds. They are having a lot of delays there, and we only have that registrar in Machakos sub-county. And as far as Masinga, they travel all the way to come to Machakos. to come and get their title deeds, even Yatta and everywhere else in Machakos. And whenever they go there, they are told to come back tomorrow. They can go there, stay the whole day. Nobody is telling them anything. I went down doing my public participation on oversight, and some of my citizens were complaining that whenever they go there, there's a registry book. They are told to pay 10,000 shillings, and they are not issued with a receipt, and they are told to come back, and they never see this money. They never get their title deeds. Madam CS, can you kindly explain what is happening in the registrar office, in the lands registrar office, for issuing title deeds in Machakos? Thank you.
Madam CS.
And if also you have a plan of distributing some other offices in those other sub-counties. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator for Machakos, Senator Kavindu. First, my registrar in Machakos is Dorothy Reting, and Dorothy has other 4 registrars. So in terms of number of registrars, we do have some sufficient number considering the total numbers that I have. Secondly, we have noted the workload in Machakos County is huge, and we have gazetted new registration units, registries, that is Mavoko and Kitimani. I'll be having a minimum of a registrar for each for a start, and I hope to be able to post 2 registrars for the 2 registration registries. And I think that would answer to some of the delays that have been occasioned. In terms of, you talked of some integrity issues, maybe that is for me corruption, but I'll pick it up with the registrar in charge. There is no reason why people should come 3-4 times to look for their titles. They need to, we have already given instructions that they must work with timelines, so that once you come once, you make your application, you allow time to register, and then just come second time is to collect your title, unless the records are not there. But I know that these answers will be answered finally through digitization process that we have already taken up, and we'll be hoping that we can complete the exercise nationally in the next 2 years.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Honorable Senators, now let's go to question number 018 by the Senator for Nairobi County, Honorable Edwin Sifuna. I understand it's 017. No, we done to Senator Sifuna to ask his question first. 018.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted the CS for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development to answer the following 3 questions, Mr. Speaker. Number 1, who holds the title deed for the parcel of land on which the Mboya Social Hall in Makadara constituency, Nairobi City County stands? And could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the ownership history of the said parcel of land? B, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances under which the parcel of land came into the custody or possession of a private developer who has already commenced construction works on a mall? Number C, what measures has the ministry put in place to reclaim public land, including this land in Makadara that has been illegally acquired or encroached upon, as well as generally forestall land grabbing in the city of Nairobi? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam CS.
In response to the Honorable Senator for Nairobi County, Senator Sifuna, Honorable Senator Edwin Sifuna, he wants to know what is the fate of Mboya Social Hall. Honorable Speaker, I have given an answer in response, which is written. Mboya Memorial Hall sits on plot number block number 79/782. Formerly, the number I've given there, LR number 209/11046. The plot was reserved to the Ministry of Public Works, that is my ministry, for development of a community hall on June 26, 1957, through an order of the governor then. The plot was leased to KANU, Kenya African National Union Party, for 3 years from 1967 on condition that the party pays rent of shillings 1. The land remains government land and the party remains, that's the condition, that the land was to remain still owned by the public works, and then the party responsible for maintenance of the building is the KANU party during that terms of the lease for those 3 years. KANU then thereafter applied for allocation of the plot in 1985. A letter of allotment was issued in favor of the party on 12th April 1985 for a term of 99 years. With effect from March 1985, the user of the plot was social hall still and offices. Annexure that we have given an annexure of that detail, and then thereafter KANU did not pay the statutory fees indicated in the allotment letter of 10th of April 2018. The offer had since lapsed, and I have given also supporting annexure there, number 3. A lease for Nairobi block 79/782, measuring 0.403 hectares, that is about 1 acre of land, at peppercorn rent was prepared in favor of KANU and registered on April 25th, 25th April 2018. I've given details in support. Honorable Speaker, on 22nd of February 2021, the parcel was then transferred to GAMI. Was transferred to GAMI Limited, GAMI Properties Limited. Give me CR2. Yes, to GAMI Properties Limited. I have also given supporting document to support that. The parcel, having been registered as a social hall, should remain as such. Honorable Speaker, that is the status of that parcel. It's a public land. Honorable Senator for Nairobi, I want to confirm, standing on this floor, that GAMI Properties Limited got an irregular allocation, and I will proceed to cancel that title. It is going to remain public property. Yeah. And maybe that's, I will leave a copy of the CR12 to show the individuals that own GAMI Properties Limited. My office obviously misbehaved by allowing this, but that was done jointly with the National Land Commission. We will work together using Section 79 of the Land Legislation Act. Thank you.
Honorable says, I thought you just handle the 3 parts, A, B, and C, and then the rest of the question can maybe respond.
He had enforcing strict penalties, digitization.
Well, I think you have answered that. You have. Your last part, I think I summarized everything.
I had said, yes, I had said that we are working on digitization. We'll need support of Parliament through budget. We have already finished Nairobi. We are doing Murang'a and Isiolo or digitization, or the scanning in Murang'a and Isiolo is almost done, and we'll be going live in those 2 other counties soon. So this progress will be expected, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. With the way Senator Sifuna is happy, I don't think he has a supplementary question. He has already confirmed. Okay, Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, I was a bit worried when I was reading the written response from the CS because it did not have the last bit there, which is the most critical bit for the people of Nairobi on the action to be taken. I am more than happy to confirm or to hear from her that she's going to cancel the allocation because the offer to KANU had lapsed, so they had no title to transfer. They did not, in fact, deserve to be given that title, and there was nothing to transfer to Gami Properties. I am also happy that she has told the nation that she's going to provide the ownership details of Gami Properties Limited. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the only thing I want the CS to confirm to me is the timeline when we can expect cancellation of that particular title, reversion back to the people of Nairobi of the property, and the reconstruction of Mboya social hall. Mr. Speaker, because as we speak today, construction on that property is still ongoing. They are building a mall. So, Mr. Speaker, the timelines of those actions, if the CS, who has already made my day, can just add the topping to the cake, I will be very happy for the people of Nairobi to hear when we can expect this time, this action to be taken. And Mr. Speaker, continue to protect us from hecklers in this house, because we are discussing serious issues here about people who we represent, and people are heckling here.
Senator Sifuna, you are doing so. Senator Gloria, must you always make noise in this house, honestly speaking? No, it's not in order, honestly. I heard the CS say that she's ready to give, I wanted to table a document.
Oh, I think this is online actually, CR12, to show the owners of Ngami. This was, Honorable Speaker, I came yesterday back to the country, but I ordered for that and it is available. Those are the current directors of Ngami Properties Limited.
Yeah, the supplementary question may be like...
I think he wanted to know the timeline.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, under Section 79 of the Land Registration Act. I think I will need the notice. The process that we undertake is when we realize that irregularity has been committed, either or a mistake by our registry, we need to issue a notice to the holders of that title, and that notice is supposed to take... it's a notice of 60 days. So I will take up the process immediately. So you can expect that then the notice is to call the person, the holder of the title, to return the title, failing which then we proceed to cancel it. In most cases, when they know it was an untoward activity, normally they do not present themselves, because you present yourself and the title for cancellation, or at least for interrogation. Once you don't come, we proceed to cancel. So it should not take me more than 60 days to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us get a few supplementary questions. Start from Senator Rachel Julius.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to know from the Minister, there is a piece of land which was given by Pokot County Council to KVDA around 1986 or 83, and it is a dam today which is generating power. And so to mark the end of the occupied land, or the land that is today under a dam, they put beacons, which marked the end that Wananchi would develop up to there or leave up to there. But now, maliciously, some MPs are grouping against KVDA and saying that they sold the land off to some unknown personalities, but the accusation is so high on the ground. So I was wondering if the minister is aware, and what does she say so that as an answer to those who are accusing KVDA or some leaders of selling the land, that today is a dam producing or generating power to Kenya at large.
Senators, you know, as I guided, as much as practically possible, let us just direct our question towards the original question. The CS can attempt to answer, but such details might be a bit difficult to get. So, Madam CS.
Thank you for the direction, Honorable Speaker. It's true that I'm not able to respond to that because it has not been brought to my notice area, but KVDA is actually an agency or parastatal under the Ministry of East Africa Community, Regional Development, and ASALS. And they would have the details of that particular problem. But Honorable Senator can also write to me, and maybe, or to myself and the Minister for East Africa Region, and give us these details, and then we can try to help and resolve the problem. I don't know whether it's a problem where the dam has gone encroached. You know, sometimes dams exceed the area of the design, therefore a redesign may be necessary. It could be a case where maybe compensation is not complete, or a case where people are trying to use the dam to get the land or use the land that has already been purchased around the dam. I think I will leave it to you, but you can write to the two ministries for better responses. Overall, Your Honorable Speaker, I was asked about recovery of other public lands. Honorable Speaker, let me say that we are in the process of discussing with the Office of the President through hopes, and we intend to move the cabinet for a resolution to allow the minister to request for all ministries to forward their public lands that are in danger or have been encroached or have been grabbed, so that holistically I can address all of them, because it's not possible for the Minister of Lands to know which land has been encroached or has been grabbed. But I think it is, as a government, we have a duty. As a ministry, I have a responsibility to assist the government to protect and recover and document public land existing and what may have been taken away, and recover as much as we can, including prosecution of people who have been found to have stolen public land. Obviously, you see, even the Minister for Lands is not safe, because this particular parcel that Mboya Socio is on belongs to the Ministry of Public Works. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, when I went to Kwale, to Kitare, I want to confirm that Kitare prison, is it the medium or maximum, is sitting on an individual's parcel of land. So I'm also proceeding to cancel those, because the prisons itself is sitting on land that has been grabbed, over 3,000 parcels of land. So it is not an easy matter. We have to do what is right, and the support of Parliament, including these kind of questions, is helpful. Thank you.
Senator Mandago, you are on the queue at the top. Maybe you can ask your question. But I don't know, you have a problem with that box. It's possible.
Maybe the clerks can assist me with my card. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I have, I don't know whether it's a question or a suggestion to the Cabinet Secretary. On this digitization, Honorable Speaker, I'd like to ask the Cabinet Secretary, what happens with lands that are disputes during digitization process? And I ask that because, Honorable Speaker, there is a land in question in Uasin Gishu County between the people of Uasin Gishu, the county government of Uasin Gishu, and the Department of Defense. But during digitization, you know, a title that was fraudulently acquired was also digitized. So my request to the Honorable CS is during digitization, I think all lands under dispute should not be digitized because digitizing is further giving legitimacy, to the fraudulently acquired titles. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the CS has said she's constrained in terms of budget for titling of schools. Honorable Speaker, it is my view that now that schools receive even capitation for operations, and it only costs a maximum of 20,000 to actually get a title deed, schools should actually be asked to process their own titles. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Did I hear the Senator is proposing that we ask the schools to process their own titles? I think then that would require me to move back to the cabinet to have the cabinet resolve to do that. I don't see a big problem in the government. The schools are properties of the government, actually. The land is not necessarily in the name of school. It's reserved for that school, but the titles belong to the National Treasury, and they are registered in the name of National Treasury. So I think for us to assist to proceed to do that is important. And you also know that that is the only way we can be able to assure the validity, the sizes, the survey, integrity, and therefore I think it's not a bad thing that the ministry is the one that is finally doing it. You can imagine this is since 1960, this has not been done, so I think we will not be able to leave to the schools. Again, some of the people around the schools are the ones who have grabbed some of the school land. In that process, we'll be able to return any grabbed land. On the question on digitization, what happens to parcels that may be having disputes or have titles or records that are in dispute or are under interrogation and investigation? First, we capture the records that we have. But capturing the records we have by scanning and putting them in as part of our digitization does not mean we will be hindered from interrogating those documentations. But also the KDF land, I think you are referring to the KDF land. We have cancelled all those titles, so we don't longer have any problem. But where we have captured the wrong or disputed land, maybe it is in court, and then we get the new record or other records to say otherwise, other than what is in our digital system, we will move to put that as part of our record, and it is possible within that, because as we digitize, we are also using the land laws that exist. So I don't think there is going to be any compromise or danger in our work.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Ososi. Godfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have two questions, two supplementary questions to this.
Choose the one which is heavy. The one which is, you consider only one supplementary.
Very well. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the CS the compensation plan they have on lands which were compulsorily acquired by the government before the onset of devolution. I am saying this because, Mr. Speaker, there is a sad case of an old man who died 4 years ago and is still lying in the morgue from a place called Kegoye within Vihiga municipality. What happened, Mr. Speaker, is that when Vihiga was gazetted as a district by the then President Moi, there were some people who were relocated to create space for the construction of the district headquarters. And this old man was one of them. They were relocated to a place in Lugari Forest. And when they went there, they found that the land had complication. So they returned back to their original land. They have stayed there for years. The old man died there. When he died, they took the body to the morgue, but they could not bury because the county government contested and said that that land is within the Vihiga municipality. Up to date, the body of the old man is still lying in the morgue. I brought this matter when I was in the National Assembly in 2021, and the then CS for Lands, Madam Caronei, made a commitment to Parliament that the matter was going to be resolved in 6 months. Mr. Speaker, it is now approaching 2.5 years. Nothing has been done. What is the CS aware of this matter, and what specific action is she going to take to address this matter so that this family can bury their old man as soon as possible and stop incurring mortuary fees, given that this family, even though the county government has refused them to bury their dead, they are still occupying the land to date.
Honorable CS.
Honorable Speaker, I'm not aware of that particular matter. I would request for maybe the Honorable Senator if it is him who had asked the question, to send me a copy of the question and the answer that we gave, if you have. But I will also, because I have my Chief Land Registrar, Mr. Nyandoro, here with me, I will ask him to take up and check the records, and if there is something I can do, depending on the commitment that the minister made, because I believe she made on behalf of the ministry, I will action on the matter. However, I think also the county and yourself, Honorable Speaker, with the greatest respect, I think it's a matter that the county should have been able to resolve and help the family. But I will, on my part, see why the minister had said she would be in a position to deal with the matter and revert back to the Honorable Senator, not necessarily on the floor, but I can get back to him with the relevant answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I advise that Senator Osotsi, you can approach the ministry anytime to the CS office and see how you can be able to revive that issue. According to the answers the CS is giving, definitely she will be able to sort that matter. The way she had sorted the Mboya Hall, Community Hall. What is it again, Senator Osotsi?
Mr. Speaker, I think because the matter was raised in the last parliament where I served with the CS and the answers were provided by the then CS, I think they need to check their files. They will be able to get the answers. But I will oblige to provide the responses to the CS, what they gave them.
If you want to help those people, don't refer the CS to the files. Just initiate your own. Do an initiative with the CS and she will be able to assist you. But if you refer to the files, you know, and she has directed you to see her in the office and say you can sort out the matter, I think that is fair enough.
Well guided. Mr. Speaker, I will make an effort to see the CS over that.
Senator Roba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First of all, I want to congratulate the Cabinet Secretary for a job well done. We can see the output of your ministry. I'm even sure Senator Sifuna was surprised that you gave a straight answer on his issue. Mr. Speaker, I have one question. On this particular issue on shared functions, we have shared functions under housing, under public works, and my question is, at what point is the ministry actually going to initiate a program of releasing the assets to the counties in terms of the shared, in terms of the functions that have been devolved? There are some functions that have been devolved, they've gone down to counties, but some of the assets are still on national level. So is there an intention to actually release those assets to the counties so that the counties can be able to have control over the issues that have been devolved? And Mr. Speaker, you know, we are all equal senators, and understanding Order 101, it is not proper for a senator to impute improper motive. I'm not a heckler. As you can see, my contributions are valid. So I think Senator Sifuna should understand that we are all equal, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Roba.
We are contributing.
Senator Roba, you have asked your question to the CS.
Yes.
So do you want the CS also to comment on the issues that you are accusing Senator?
No, I've asked the question, but I wanted to
You
pass
have
the
asked a
message
question
on
and just
record.
raised your question at that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
The Honorable Senator Gloria is asking about the shared functions and the assets transfer of, and I think, are you referring to transfer of functions or transfer of assets? For assets, the national government is working holistically to see what assets should be transferred. And because I know even as we sit, most of the assets belong to the national government. They have not completely yet been transferred, but there is, including functions, there is a team that is working on the transfer of both functions and assets. So I want to believe that that will eventually find its way to Parliament when the final list is done. It's not a very simple exercise, and therefore it requires time. Thank you.
Let's get the last supplementary question from Senator Mwihaji. I can see 3 more senators are still on the queue, and then I'll give you an opportunity after we ask question number 017. So we make some progress, Senator Onyonka. You'll have an opportunity still to ask your supplementary question. Senator
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Faki.
My question is with regard to historical land justices in Mombasa. Last week, and I think part of this week, the National Land Commission has been holding hearings in Mombasa in regards to historical land injustices. And on Friday last week, they made decisions that have created panic, fear, and despondency to the residents of Mombasa, especially within the island where many are not sure of their residences or places where they have stayed for almost 100 years. Initially, during the colonial administration, we had the system of liwalis. And the liwalis were registered by virtue of their positions as trustees on behalf of the residents. However, when the liwalis passed on, these properties were transferred or were inherited through the succession system, and now are no longer public or public properties, but they have now ended up in the hands of the relatives of the liwalis. And this one has caused a lot of problems because they are charging a minimum of 5 million for a plot measuring 50 by 80 or 50 by 100 within the central business district. So, Madam CS, we wanted to know what is the government doing to assure these residents of their residences, and also to resolve this long-standing problem that has affected Mombasa Island, and also part of Kisauni and parts of Changamwe and Likoni areas of Mombasa County. Thank you.
Honorable CS.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Senator, is it for Mombasa? Yes, has raised a very important question, and I believe that that question is not a supplementary question. It requires to be put in writing so that I can be able to respond to you, especially noting that the activities that you have referred to are activities being carried out by the National Land Commission. You know, National Land Commission is also an independent body, but we work together. Sometimes they are able to consult, and sometimes I'm also able to consult them. So I would, with the permission of the Speaker, I would request that that question be forwarded formally, either through the Senate or directly to the Cabinet Secretary, and I try to answer, because it's not necessary that if I can answer, I don't have to come to answer it on the floor. So I would leave it to you, Honorable Senator, through the Speaker.
I think Senator Mohamed Faki, that's a good guidance, because I also felt it's a weight matter that needs some good response.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the CS that we need to put in a separate question. However, I have another small supplementary on affordable houses, Mr. Speaker.
You'll ask maybe during the next question.
Thank you.
Because actually it is related to the question by Senator Mohamed Faki. So let us have question number 017 by the Senator from Marsabit County.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Question 017. Could the Cabinet Secretary, one, indicate the respective value of each parcel of government-owned land that has been designated for the affordable housing projects in Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Kisumu counties, and indicate how many of the said parcels are currently being or have been developed since 2017. 2, state the value of parcel of land assigned to respective developers for the construction of affordable housing, and could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the project cost per square meter of each housing unit, as well as the interest rate to be charged to buyers of those units. 3, state how many of the houses under the project are under public-private partnership arrangements, and could the Cabinet Secretary state the respective percentage contribution of the government vis-a-vis the developers. Number 4, halt all transactions involving public land until mutually beneficial formula to both the government and developers is agreed upon. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Madam CS, respond to the 4 sections.
Honorable Speaker, may I allow me to take this opportunity to thank the Senate, the honorable members of the Senate, the entire Senate, for supporting the affordable housing levy bill that came through the Senate. After an elaborate discussion, we have now a law that was assented to on 19th of March by His Excellency. Thank you very much for your participation and approval. Honorable Speaker, the question by the Honorable Senator for Marsabit, and I also appreciate that he's on board because he has even tendered an apology. We should be able to work together. Since 2017, Honorable Speaker, the government, I want to go to the 4 questions. I think his question is in 4 parts, as you have rightly pointed out, Honorable Speaker. The first one, of course, he's asking me to indicate the value of each parcel of government-owned land that has been designated for affordable housing projects in Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Kisumu counties, and indicate how many of the parcels are currently being or have been developed since 2017. Since 2017, the government has identified and designated about 575 land parcels, totaling to about 12,000 acres distributed across the country. These parcels were submitted by the ministries, individual ministries, counties, departments.
Sorry, Madam CS.
Yes.
Because this, I can see your response is quite long,
Yes.
and very elaborate. So I wanted to get from the honorable member whether he has been able to go through this response so that we can save some time.
Thank you,
And
Honorable.
if you have, which specific section do you feel that you need?
Then I can be directed to that.
To
Yes.
that
Thank you.
particular part of
Thank
the
you,
response.
Honorable Speaker. I'm satisfied
Because
with
let me finish.
the answers.
Let me finish.
Yeah,
Because the way you have really appreciated and you also said you are now on board. It's like this question was before. You asked this question before, now you came on board with that act.
Honorable Speaker, I've gone through the answers, and I'm happy and comfortable with the answers, but I have supplementary questions.
You have no, yeah, good. Then if there is any other member on affordable housing, like Senator, first we inquire to Senator Mohamed Faki. You said you have no supplementary questions.
I have supplementary questions.
Oh, okay. Just ask your supplementary question so that it can be specific.
Thank you.
Minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Article 43(1)(b) is very clear on the issue of settling people. And I wanted the Cabinet Secretary to note that we had former Buxton tenants who came, who in fact brought a petition to this House. And I am in the Committee of Housing, Roads and Housing, and we decided and agreed that these people should be resettled, 184 in number, to be given the first priority to be resettled in Buxton Estate. I would want the Cabinet Secretary to tell us if these people are going to be settled, when they are going to be settled, and if she can give an appointment through this House for those people to come and sit with her and finalize this matter. The other issue I have is on rural housing. The Cabinet Secretary is aware that we've passed, the amended law has the issue, component of rural housing. I want to know, in her regulations, what is she going to do for those people who cannot afford urban housing, who want to settle in Marsabit, Isiolo, Wajir, and all those places? How is she going to cater for those people that can be settled in those areas? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam CS, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Senator has been following on the issue of the tenants that had occupied the land in the Buxton project in Mombasa. They are 184, according to the Honorable Senator. If these people have leadership, because I don't want to confirm that you can bring 184 people into my office, but if they have leadership, then the leadership can actually visit me, or you wait when I go to Mombasa, because maybe I can plan better, go to Mombasa and we deal it at that level instead of them coming all the way to Nairobi. So then we can see what issues are still remaining. But in the meantime, those issues can be documented and forwarded to me through your office, Honorable Senator, or through the leadership. I suppose these people have some leadership. Through their leadership, they can document the issues, send to me, and then looking at the issues, then I'll be able to make a decision to either visit, go to Mombasa, and we have a meeting there in Mombasa. On the question of rural housing, Honorable Speaker, I think this was a provision that this Senate found necessary in our affordable housing law. And we obviously, as a ministry, our work is to implement. We are preparing the regulations, and for me, I think what is important is, I believe Senate will be part of that preparation. I may not be able to give a concrete answer, because this will require us to examine materials, technology, and the budget, and of course the probability. How do we, in terms of economics of scale, how do we manage to, who and how do we deal with in terms of our rural setup? As you can imagine, we are talking about the whole country. There will be need for a budget. We need to rationalize, and we need to see what is suitable. And whatever material that government puts in money on, that material must also be put in the code, the building code that approves materials. And actually, the building code is coming to the House. And therefore, it is not an answer that you can get immediately, but it is something that we will all work on. Of course, we need to look at technology as part of the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Onyonka, Richard.
Mr. Speaker, the reason why you saw I was nearly becoming anxious was because I have not had an opportunity to meet the CS before she became the CS, because the last time I was with her, she was making a political commentary on TV, and she was saying, "We will win and you will lose." And I said, "No, you will lose and we will win." And then she told me, in fact, Uhuru and his friends and everybody will go. And then I'm shocked now. The other side is now telling Mama Ngina, "Sorry, we are coming to be with you, sorry." So I was excited, Mr. Speaker, to see her because I have utmost respect for her. Madam CS, I also want to sincerely thank you for confirming Mr. Nyandoro. You know, he happens to come from where he does, but I'm happy that you looked at meritocracy and agreed to give the best qualified person the job. I really thank you for that. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary question I'm asking the CS is maybe suggestive. Would the minister be comfortable to actually confirm to this House that the issues that are bedeviling the Ministry of Lands and the land question in this country is because of very simple things? For example, we have no spatial planning, which is completed. We do not know which pieces of land were allocated and who allocated them and whether they suffice on the legality of their existence. That the issues that you have that are in Kitale right now about prisons land are really questions which are historical, and that the challenges we have is that the institutions that are supposed to function, and indeed one of those institutions is her ministry, has been unable to perform and deliver on the issue of land. Would the minister be comfortable to tell this House whether therefore it's possible that she can make sure that in the shortest time possible we have spatial planning, and so that we can be able to do what the Rwanda government has done? And Mr. Speaker, what is shocking, or maybe not shocking, is that the people who did the spatial planning for the country known as Rwanda are Kenyans, and they are known. Is it possible that we can also do that so that when somebody is buying land, or when somebody has been allocated land, or when somebody is having a problem with their land, they can immediately have the detail, the size of the land, the location of the land, the value of the land, and any development on that land? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Madam CS.
Honorable Speaker, I want to take the commendation and the congratulatory note from the Honorable Senator in humility, because he knows that we did very many debates with him at the national television, and many times he would get very upset with my contributions, but that was for debate purposes, and I warned him severally. He refused to listen, and I hope that I have permission to speak like that on this floor, but I hope he can.
Around the two of you to exchange that presently.
Thank you, thank you. I hope he will read the signs now early, so that then we can be on the same page. And but suffice to say that he is a very ardent, very able debater, and we really benefited, all of us, from his contributions during the debates. May I say, Honorable Speaker, that he raises very fundamental issue in terms of what is ailing the entire ministry in respect of especially then the land tenure, land security. The question of land security is critical, is key, and as we plan, we are planning with that in mind, because we would want to guarantee security of tenure and security of records. And that's why we have agreed as a government, as a ministry, to go digital, to digitize, to ensure that you can at least, the stories, even today, Honorable Speaker, as I stand here, I get very upset because then my officers know that I have said that there is no way you can give me a response that the file is missing. Whenever a file is missing, there is some funny business going on or some irregularities likely to be committed by disappearance of a file. But this is something that the country must also now agree, and I take the opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to urge the public not to take matters land security casually and not to engage in buying land that they have not received a proper certification in terms of searches and record checks by the land registries. Having said that, I have also told the government officers managing our registries that they will take personal responsibilities. And we have so far, Honorable Speaker, taken, I think, 3 or 4. 2 are under suspension since I came in, and the 2 are already facing court charges because of irregular recording or documentation of land. Honorable, it's quite a task. The answer will be technology, use of technology and digitization, and therefore, Honorable Senator, I believe as a country, that is something we must aspire, and that's what we should be looking forward to. I should be made, put to task to be able during my tenure to complete digitization. We have 2 types of spatial planning: the county spatial planning and the national spatial planning. The national spatial planning is basically complete. The challenge we are having is the county spatial planning, and the governors have not taken up this without appearing to accuse the counties. They have a challenge. Very few have taken up. I think, if I'm correct, about 10 counties are on course. The others are not on course. It's a very important aspect to have spatial planning, because if you don't, and then of course, if the spatial lack of planning is planning to fail, and therefore I am also calling upon the counties to take up this task very seriously. We are in the process also of doing necessary geospatial surveys, mapping and georeferencing. This is an exercise that is going on. Cadastre preparations for purposes of us to be able to digitize. We have to use those 2 things, the cadastre preparation and of course georeferencing. Then we'll be able to resolve many disputes relating to even survey and the boundaries. And therefore, I think this government will be on course. That's where we need to put our money into in terms of these questions, and we will be able to deal with the land grabbers, maybe up to maybe 100% if need be. I have no tolerance with them. Some of them have called me arrogant, Honorable Speaker, even if they are facing court cases for whatever. I know some of them are very unhappy, but some of them are also very influential, and therefore we need to just use our documentation properly so that we can keep away people who want to steal both public land and private land. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a long number 1 question from Onyonka, because it involved 3 parts: political, social, and then the question. Honorable Senators, we have 4 senators on the queue, and we really need to close with the CS for lands. I want to share maybe 1.5 minutes each, every member. And Honorable CS, if you don't have the exact question, you can even go and give the answers later.
Later, yes.
So that we can make some progress. So, Senator Vazishek.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask that CS, that among the proposed units, which is actually under construction already, is Wajir. Wajir, I've seen some houses under construction in Wajir Township. So may I know how many units is being built in Wajir Township? How many floors will those houses go? Because Wajir has actually many challenges in terms of, the solid structure and sanitation problems and sewage, because of the high level of water. Wajir is still experiencing sewage problems. So I don't know whether the project has considered all those factors which have been undertaken now, because sewage problem, Wajir has no sewage. It has sewage problems, it has water problem, and the soil structure actually is sandy. And if you will be building houses with high-rise houses, you might experience some challenges. So I wanted to know how many there are, what is actually the height of this, how many floors, and whether you have taken care of any consideration of the sewage systems and all these things that do not exist in Wajir now.
So I want to know from the CS whether that's a question you can answer now, or maybe you provide the answer later to the Honorable Senator.
The Wajir, we have 220 units that are coming up, 220 units of different categories. The original design is for social, affordable, and a few market units, and therefore that one is on course. Let me say that for purposes of this House, that we shall have county projects at county level, but we shall also have constituency level projects. This Wajir is one of the constituency level. I say constituency because we are also using constituency as a unit to ensure equitable distribution of these projects, because for us, they mean a lot. For the people of Kenya, they mean a lot because they mean employment, they mean economic sparring, and they mean a lot of economic activities around the projects, including employing the youths. Single project like this one will have between 300 and 400 youths, not forgetting the other issues that arise, people working, the shops around, receive this money, it's not a bad project. So every constituency will have, and we will endeavor to do that in the course of our term, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Derito John. Can you? 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For me, I want to congratulate the Minister and to ask her, apart from the regulations that were mentioned by Chute concerning the rural affordable housing, for that to be very effective, Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure that we provide land ownership documents to the owners of the land. I just wanted to know what is she doing, and especially to the people living in the slums, because they're the people who need even those homes more than the other people. Mr. Speaker, you come to places like Laikipia, you go to a village called Maina Village, they don't have title deeds. You go to a place like Rikie, Majengo, they don't have their title deeds. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to know, apart from those villages in Laikipia, what's she doing concerning the land ownership for especially those people living in the villages and in rural areas, Mr. Speaker? Thank you.
Madam CS.
When you say villages, Honorable Senator, if you mean colonial villages, I had already answered that question and said that during my tenure, I'm going to finish titling for all the colonial villages. Now, villages or areas like Kwamaina or Maina, I know where it is, and there are many like that where titling is a problem because most of the time the land does not belong to the people living there. There are parcels of lands or land just given to them either by the chiefs or by people who just come and grab and they start issuing titles in wherever they find empty land. It is not easy to first issue titles because any titles do follow planning. And the way most of those houses are built, you'll find that even planning for roads, for sewerage purposes or facilities becomes very complicated. But I'm aware that minor area of between Nyandarua, is it Nyandarua or is it in Laikipia? It's in Laikipia. We have been asked to do titling, and we are looking at it. Honorable Senator, I can give you details of whether that will be done. And it's quite a task, but we will endeavor to see, because also the cases of how small can you go in terms of the parcel of land also becomes a big challenge. Some people own places that are not even 0.000 something, and therefore you can imagine that it is not an easy task. But and policy, I'm coming back to this house before June with the national land policy. So I think I have answered that question. Sure. In terms of regulations, you can help us to think through, because we'll be coming to you. Honorable Speaker, I did not answer the question on water and sanitation and sewerage by Honorable Senator for Wajir, but he knows that that issues of sewerage, where we build, Honorable Senator, where we have a project, we endeavor to provide necessary facilities working with other government agencies, whether it is water or sewerage. We will ensure, of course, there is connectivity, and if there is no sewerage, then we will be able to provide necessary sewage system for that specific project. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Mohamed Faki.
Honorable Speaker, my question is regard to the affordable housing. There are members of the civil service or public service who are staying in the Mbotela estates in Nairobi, Shauri Moyo, and part of Jogoo Road, where they have been issued with notices to vacate their houses for construction of new units. Honorable Speaker, these units were constructed about 10 years ago during the Kibaki administration, and they are fairly modern and new houses. And I'm wondering, why is the government demolishing such units at a time when people do not have houses? Thank you.
Can I combine with the supplementary question from the Nairobi Senator? Maybe it might involve the same projects.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the CS appeared before us as the Housing Committee, we did explain to her our objections to the Housing Act and explain to her that it was on principle. I'm sure she's aware that we in the minority are still going to ask the courts to have the last say, led by Senator Umtata. Mr. Speaker, the question that was raised by my colleague from Mombasa, Faki, in fact, the ministry has given the residents of Jogoo Road Phase 1 and 2, Jamaa, Mbotela, Ahero, and Mawenzi Gardens to vacate their houses by the end of April that is 30th April 2024. And if you see the notice that has been sent to residents, contains a clause here that says that tenants will be accorded priority to purchase or rent a house once the redevelopment is complete. In addition to the question that has been raised by Faki, because, Mr. Speaker, if you see, I have a photo of those houses here. These are not houses that you can compare to the houses, say, in Lumumba Estate that were built in the 50s. These houses are less than 10 years old. What is the rationale of demolishing such houses to build something that will look exactly like this, Mr. Speaker? We believe it is a wastage of public resources. Number two, Mr. Speaker, can the CS confirm whether there are agreements that have been signed by this, between the ministry and these residents that will guarantee them what the ministry is saying in these notices? Because, Mr. Speaker, this was the same story in Buxton that the residents were told. When the houses were built, it became another story. And because we said we don't want another Buxton, I want the CS to assure me as the Senator of Nairobi that agreements have been signed with the current residents of these estates that they will actually be given first priority when the units are rebuilt. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. That's the last supplementary question for the to the CS lands. So summarize that question, the two questions from the two senators. Then, we call it a day.
I think the questions are basically the same. The two questions regarding Shauri Moyo, Botera, the various estates that we gave along Jogoo Road, that we gave notices for people to vacate. We have had, we have been, because we also listen, as a government, as a ministry, we listen. And I know this question was raised by Honorable Senator for Nairobi when I appeared before them, before the passing of the housing levy bill. I believe he's now on board. If he's not, I'm sure he'll soon be on board. I hope he'll be on board because this housing program is a useful project for the people of Kenya. I want to say that for the Botera, Shauri Moyo, we are coming up with various projects there because the land is a lot and the number of people using those houses, and those houses, you agree with me, Honorable Senator, Honorable members, through the Speaker, that they are houses that do not hold a total of maybe 3,000 or 2,000 people. But when you look at the entire land and what we can do with affordable housing, I think it would be in putting the land into better use, because we also, as a ministry, manage the land, and the land use is under my docket. Therefore, we have agreed this Monday and also last week, my teams from the ministry, Department of Housing, visited these places, and there is an agreement. I have been advised that the residents are now in agreement, and we are extending the notice to October, November, depending on where October, November, and we have also agreed that we shall give them relocation, we shall facilitate relocation as people affected by the project. It's a small amount of money, and I believe His Excellency has expressed himself on that. As a ministry, we do provide some little amount of money for relocation. You can pay your rent depending on the agreement in each particular place. Between 6 months and 1 year, we are able to provide the rent for similar, or at least noting that many of them are even paying rent where they are, and they are able to tell us how much rent they are paying. So we give that for 6 months, and there is an agreement, and the notice will be extended, and it will be in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think
Madam
I've
CS.
answered the entire question.
Yes. So that is the end of the question and answer session from the CS Lands and Housing. So thank you very much, Madam CS, for your very elaborate answers. And the member who is happy today is the Senator for Nairobi. He's a very happy man because of all his issues have been addressed professionally. So thank you very much for your time. Welcome back to the Senate any other time that we request you to avail yourself. So asante sana.
Thank you,
the good
thank you.
work that you are doing to the Kenyans.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Myself and my team. Yeah.
Definitely, when I refer to you, it's your entire team and the family. So, Honorable Senators, we have now the CS for Energy, who is coming for the Senate. Maybe he should be ushered in. He has 2 questions. From the Senator for Kirinyaga, James Murango, and the Senator for Marsabit County, Senator Mohamed Chute. So I don't know whether you have instructions. So thank you very much. Welcome the Energy CS. Thank you for finding time to come before the Senate. You are a frequent visitor to the Senate, and we really thank you that you have time. You don't postpone when you ask to come. So that is a good indication that you are very ready to serve this country. So we go to the first question from the member for Kirinyaga County. Senator Mboya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 007 on behalf of the distinguished Senator for Kirinyaga, Senator James Murango. 1, is the Cabinet Secretary aware of the breakdown of over 15 government-owned power transformers in Kirinyaga County between March and September 2023, And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons behind it? And 2, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the inordinate delay in replacing defective power transformers in Kirogo, Maendeleo, and Liagishiru villages within Mboya constituency, despite multiple requests for their replacement? And 3, could the Cabinet Secretary explain what measures the government has put in place to ensure the timely repair or replacement of defective power transformers? Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond to the question by Senator from Kirinyaga.
Honorable Speaker, today, members of the Senate, good morning and happy to be here this morning to respond to the questions that have been raised. And like has been said, Honorable Chair, Speaker, I am a frequent member here, and thank you. And happy to engage to address some of the challenges as we look forward to building our country together. Pursuant, Speaker, of following the letter dated February 13th, which was inviting us to come and respond to the question which has been articulated by the Honorable Member as to whether we are aware of the breakdown of over 15 government-owned power transformers in Kirinyaga County in the last 6 months and the reasons behind. And that, Chairman, I wish to note that the above question had been asked under question number 059 on 4th October 2023. Honorable members, the ministry is aware, and these breakdowns or the breakdown in those transformers have continuously been addressed through Kenya Power, replaced them once, reported. Breakdown of transformers has been experienced not only in Kirinyaga County, but also in different counties, and they have been occasioned by incidences of vandalism of transformers and earthing installations, illegal connections, which when they are done without due respect to the capacities of those transformers, do cause overloading, and sometimes we lose transformers every so frequently because of those illegal connections and therefore overloading of the transformers. And thirdly, the faults on the low voltage lines due to trees and the challenge environmental issues that happen and causes breakdown sometimes from time to time. Honorable members, to counter these incidences and improve on reliability of the grid, the government has put up the following measures. Continuous monitoring is done on the power network to ensure failed transformers are replaced in the shortest possible time. A listing of power installation as under critical infrastructure. As a result, there is a special police unit called the Energy Police Unit that is now mandated to protect all energy infrastructure all the way from generation, transmission to distribution. Honorable members, let me just give a small background of the challenge and why we are trying to play a catch-up game in this area of transformers. We've had, like I mentioned, and I'll mention in the next question, serious litigation on the procurement front. When power goes off and it's a transformer right now, it's expected that we should respond immediately because it's a critical service supporting hospitals, supporting critical functions. And when we lose a transformer and we have a litigation on procurement of transformers, which you may be aware lasted for between 2 to 3 years, there was so much backlog. And at one time, we had so many transformers paid for by customers, up to 951. And we were not able to procure because of those litigation issues. transformers which were required for funded government last mile schemes of up to 561, which we were not able to procure. So we did create a backlog of up to 1,700 transformers, and creating a challenge on addressing some of these transformers. And that is why, Speaker, honorable members, we've had this transformer challenge that sometimes looks like, why don't we immediately bring in a replacement transformer when there's been a breakdown? But Chair, Speaker, honorable members, we are on top of this, and we're trying to ensure that the transformer challenge is addressed once for all, so that we don't have these inordinate delays in replacing defective transformers. I don't know whether the next question on the inordinate delay in replacing defective power transformers in Kirogo, Maendeleo, Rishicheru village within Mboya constituency, despite multiple requests for replacement, has been put to the floor.
Unless Senator Mboya is with such details, which I believe you can respond to in your next question, which is supplementary to the earlier question. Otherwise, I believe, Honorable CS, the response you've just given is specific to the first question. And if there is any supplementary, I believe the Honorable Senator will be able to inquire so that you can respond to it as well. Proceed, Senator Mboya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the supplementary question, I would like the Cabinet Secretary to ensure the country and this House that we have enough transformers in the country. And two, I would want the Cabinet Secretary to assure this House that to tell this House what measures is putting in place to ensure that the transformers which are coming in are not substandard. Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you again for that question. There is a current procurement process going on for significant number of transformers to address the shortfalls and to basically deal with the challenge that you raised in the first question and the second question. We've worked very closely, and accompanying me to the House today is our Principal Secretary, Alex Washira, the CEO for Kenya Power, Dr. Siror, Engineer Siror, and the CEO for Ketraco, Dr. John Mativo, also Engineer John Mativo. And I want to confirm, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, that we really are looking at the quality of transformers. We're not only looking at that quality of transformers, we have made transformer requirements for procurement one that can be localized to our market. And we've developed standards, worked with the international community to ensure that we are able to manufacture assemble the transformers in Kenya. And in this procurement cycle that I mentioned, we are getting adequate transformers to address the challenge of shortage. Chair, we have addressed those quality challenges so that we do not see the challenge of transformers failing. One of the assurances, honorable members, of assuring ourselves on quality is to be able to be given warranty. Warranty is a statement of quality, which basically means, honorable members, if there's a breakdown, you basically replace a transformer at no cost. And we've taken all those precautions to ensure that we protect our investments, we protect our customers, we protect ourselves from downtime, which causes more losses, by ensuring that we do procure quality transformers, but transformers which are backed by warranty, which is, like I said, a statement of quality. And that is to basically say, in the event that we lose a transformer, before the warranty period lapses, we are able to get replacement at no additional cost. So, Chair, we are on top of that, and working together with my team, we will want to assure Kenyans through this House that we will procure quality transformers and pitch for that
warranty to confirm quality and the failures that we've seen in the past. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable CS. From my dashboard, Honorable Members, I have got a list of 8 members who I believe would want to ask supplementary questions to the CS. But when you look at the number of questions, the second question, question number 20, that is by Senator Chute, it is more or less related but nationwide covering. I therefore would direct that we allow the Honorable Senator Chute to ask that question. Thereupon, all supplementary questions by members can be asked for the CS to respond to all of them. Honorable Senator Chute, proceed to ask question number 20.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, question number 020. Question number 1. Which entities were responsible for the disruptions of power supply in most parts of the country on Saturday, 11th November 2023, and the nationwide power blackout that occurred on Friday, 25th August 2023? And could the Cabinet Secretary state any actions taken against those entities? Question number 2, would the Cabinet Secretary provide a comprehensive report on the losses incurred by businesses because of the power disruptions, while clarifying whether the affected businesses will be compensated? Question number 3, what measures has the government put in place to ensure the stability of the national electricity grid to prevent the recurrence of such power disruption? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Chute. Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond to the questions by Senator Chute.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Chute, for that question. That touches on the outage that was experienced and the disruption of power supply in most part of the country on that Saturday, 11th November 2023, and the nationwide blackout that occurred on Friday, 2023, and the actions we've taken against the agencies. The status of investigation into the nationwide power outage on those 2 dates, honorable members, let me respond that at the time when we experienced that national outage, the system demand at the time of that occurrence was way below the peak demand. There was enough power on the grid, as we were only taking in 1,855 megawatts within the generation mix of hydro, which at that time was delivering 355 megawatts. Geothermal at that time was delivering 817 megawatts. Thermal was delivering 244 megawatts. Wind was at 356 megawatts. And the import from, we didn't have any imports from Uganda, or we were feeding them some 2 megawatts because we do a power exchange with Uganda. And at this particular time, we were pushing some 2 megawatts to Uganda. We were getting 100 megawatts from Ethiopia through the, we call it EEP. The first event that related to the outage was recorded by our system at the National Control Center in Dandora, the SCADA system, at 21 hours, 45 minutes, 09 seconds, 187 milliseconds. I stress that, Chair, because we record events to the milliseconds or any occurrence, because sometimes we want to see the sequence of events, what happened before which event. And that outage was associated with what we call dynamic reactive power compensation system at Lake Turkana, wind power in Loyangalani. And the analysis of the event, honorable members, revealed that the compensation unit was responding to a dip the system seemed to have seen a dip of voltage. Though the dip occurred at almost the same time with a transmission line at Earth River, a 66 kV line at Earth River substation, which was recorded at 21:45:09:277. You will see that the dip, honorable members, occurred about 100 milliseconds later in our Earth River substation. It is, however, unusual for such faults to affect the grid, owing to the fact that the lines are at the downstream in terms of being the last mile side of consumption. And therefore, we do not expect really that unusual fault to affect the grid, owing to the fact that the line are, like I said, at the downstream of the grid, and the resultant impact on the transmission grid should be minimal. Examination of the waveforms and the events in the SCADA system shows that Electricana wind project or power plant tripped in 140 milliseconds when the voltage dip was slightly above 80% of the normal 220 voltage, contrary to conditions stipulated in the grid code, which require the system to hold for at least 2 seconds for a fault right through. The fault can really be allowed to go through if the system was to hold for 2 seconds. But this reactive power reacted, and in less than 187 milliseconds, 140 milliseconds, the system shut down. So that really caused a challenge which cascaded down and ran us into that challenge and that problem. On the 11th of November 23, Kenya Transmission National Grid has installed interconnect generation capacity of, with an installed capacity generation of 2806 megawatts, with geothermal at that time 852, hydros 810, thermal 506, wind 426 megawatts, solar 212 megawatts. The national grid is interconnected with Uganda through a 132 kV double circuit line between Lesos and Tororo substation, and Ethiopia Electric Power through a 500 kV high voltage DC line linked at Suswa, linking Suswa. On that particular day, this is the second partial blackout, on the 11th November 2023, at 19 hours 57 minutes, the country experienced a partial outage of the electric power system. The system demand before the outage again was approximately 22,057 megawatts, distributed as shown on the table on the statement which I've signed and given to the House. Hydros 553, geothermal 800 megawatts, thermal 234, wind 334, imports 136, totaling 2057 megawatts. You will note again, honorable members, that that was way below the generation capacity of the country or the peak power that we have seen before. So it was nothing to do with the shortage of power generation. The power supply disturbance was triggered by a trip on an 80 megawatt and 90 megawatt transformers at Olkaria 2 and Olkaria 1 additional unit substations. Olkaria Naivasha 132 line, honorable members, also tripped at the same time. The cause was attributed to a failed chamfer cable at Olkaria 132 kilovolts substation. The substation was commissioned in 1992, and reconstruction work, in addition to upgrading of the generator, is due to commence this year. The loss of the 170 megawatts and Naivasha 132 kilovolts line resulted in increased power flow from Olkaria to Kibos 220 kV line and Suswa, Nairobi North 220 kV line. The shift in the power flows Due to that, caused an overload in one of the very weak links we have in the west of Kenya, Kisumu Moroni, which is the very reason why we are accelerating the construction of Narok Bomet. So Kisumu Moroni 132 kV line and the two 200 megawatt transformers at Dandora 220 substation. Kisumu Moroni 132 line then tripped on an overload, further overloading the transformers at Dandora, which tripped. With the trip of these critical lines and cascade trip of Chuja, Naivasha, Kibos, Kisumu 132 to Moroni, the western part of the country was kind of isolated. It was islanded. And we then saw that partial challenge. This led to several imbalances in the system. When the system tried to balance itself, and in a very short time, that imbalance really, in terms of the cascading of the challenges, caused that challenge of partial outage. Like I said, this led to several imbalances in the system, leading to cascade trip of generators in Olkaria, Nairobi, Coast, loss of Ethiopia transmission, and Uganda imports. And the loss of generation led to that partial collapse of the system. However, Mount Kenya grid system was islanded with generators at Kamburu, the Cascade, and Gitaru, running and tied to the customers connected to this part of the grid. You will note, members, that because it was a partial outage, we were able to restore within 3.5 hours. And so the restoration activities began at 11 hours on the same day, and supply to the customers was finally restored fully by 1:39 hours in the morning, with sufficient generations availed. Members, honorable members, joint technical and operational teams in the energy sector have continuously reviewed such major disturbances with resultant improvements recommendations, some of which have been implemented. These endeavors and efforts have continued to reduce the frequency and severity of system disturbance, especially those that would cascade and lead to nationwide grid collapse despite its vulnerability. System defense mechanisms such as effective under-frequency load shedding are some of the strategies we have employed today, and provision of emergency overload capacity for critical transmission lines have been employed and are working well. And what you will possibly notice for a while, we have not seen some of these systems. What I'm basically saying here, when there's an overload, we'd rather pull down some of the feeders or deload a network and not push power and overload the system. That would cascade and cause nationwide or the kind of partial blackout that we talked about. So what we do, Honorable Speaker, and you'll possibly notice this more in the area of Bomet because of Moroni Chemosit, when there is an overload in that line, because that line is built on a capacity of about 80 megawatts, 89 megawatts, and many times it would be carrying up to 120, 130 megawatts, Moroni Chemosit, down to Sotik, Kigathi, all the way to Awendo. Sometimes we have to deload the line by pulling some of the customers down so that we don't overload the country. And so some of the blackouts that you see sometimes is what we are calling here effective under-frequency load shedding, to manage the capacity of the system so that in a way we are islanding, we are isolating the problem to that small area by bringing it down and therefore sustaining the rest of the country. However, the proposed key projects are especially alternative transmission lines for evacuating power from key generation points which are pending poses major challenge in operating the network optimally. We have attached comprehensive list of recommended critical grid enhancement projects which are in various stages of implementation in the annex. Allow me, honorable members, at this point to point to the fact that whereas the energy sector in Kenya is almost fully unbundled to the extent that the generation, the transmission, and the off-taker operate independently with their own balance sheet with their own systems. KETRACO today is still supported on government balance sheet. And therefore, and we are working very quickly to employing the PPP framework to see how KETRACO, with the limited government resources, could be able to work through the PPP framework, attract private investors to build transmission system, remove the constraints on the overloaded circuits, and be able to forestall this challenge. So a number of circuits today are undergoing evaluation through the PPP framework, and so that KETRACO can leverage on private investment and be able to forestall some of these challenges. Some of the action the ministry is addressing the root cause of grid instability is formulating lasting solution in order to comprehensively address the weaknesses. One of them is what I just mentioned through the PPP framework. Further, the government, together with our development partners, are working on grid reinforcement plan to ensure the frequent blackouts experienced lately do not become a persistent matter. Government is committed, honorable members, Speaker, in having a reliable, sustainable, and resilient national grid system. And to an extent where, like I said, generation seems to be doing well. The off-taking through KPLC and what we are doing to strengthen their balance sheet, you've lately realized that we have allowed KPLC minority shareholders to participate in the structure of governance, corporate governance, by bringing in 4 independent directors to represent the interest of the 49.9% shares which are out through the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And the government side today is represented by 5 members. Those are some of the reforms which we are working through in Kenya Power to address governance issues, address the power losses from the current 22%, and we've given ourselves 16% in the next 3 years, address the issue of the balance sheet so that Kenya Power balance sheet can be strong enough to be able to go out there and do what they need to do for the country in assuring us of reliable, sustainable, resilient, and the national grid with respect to what I've said in the PPP framework, so that we do not have to only come to the House or to Parliament to look for resources to build the infrastructure nationally. It can be built by the private sector and leverage on the electrons that flow on that network, the way we toll our road highways. We should be able to toll the lines and be able to get return on investment on the PPP framework. Speaker, honorable members, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS, for your very elaborate response to the question by Senator Chute. Now, honorable members, I have got 11 requests on my dashboard. I believe these requests are with regards to supplementary questions. As I allow you, I would like to direct that we will limit now they are becoming 12. We will limit the amount of time each member will take to ask the question. And I would like to direct you to be guided by Standing Order 51C7 on supplementary questions. I will not hesitate to rule you out of order in the event of non-compliance with that particular standing order. And for purposes of order, I will limit each member to 1 question within 2 minutes. Start with the Majority Leader, Senator Aaron.
Thank you, Ms.
Senator Chute, what's your point of order?
I have, Honorable Speaker, I have 2 supplementary questions.
Very well.
Yes.
I'll allow you to go first because you asked the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to first of all thank the CS and the PS on behalf of the people of Marsabit. Honorable Speaker, we visited the CS's office some time back because of the problems we had of electricity in Marsabit. That problem has been solved through his efforts and the PS. I want to say thank you very much on behalf of our people. Honorable Speaker, the question that I've asked is who foots the bill who is going to pay the cost the business people incurred and the damages? That is my question. And also, the other question, Honorable Speaker, is KenGen is going to come to Marsabit very soon. And they have already started the public participation process. And the CS is aware that we had an issue with Electricana wind power, and the issue is still before the court. Can the CS tell us what are we going to do? What is he going to do in regards to KenGen going to Loyangalani for supply of electricity? And finally, I want to ask the CS to tell us how far has he gone on the issue of the line from Electricana wind power going into Marsabit and Isiolo. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS, proceed to respond to that. Honorable CS, we are waiting on you to check the microphone.
Thank you, Speaker and Honorable. The supplementary question from Honorable Chute, and thank you for the compliments. We are at your service, Honorable members. If there are issues that we can deal on one by one, we'll be happy to do so, because we have one goal to build this country together. Marsabit, let me answer the second question on what we are doing or what KenGen is doing to better service the Loyangalani social distribution of power. We recognize that we need to service these residents of this area, and there is a project which Honorable Chute may be aware about, where we are connecting Loyangalani. We are building a high voltage line from Loyangalani to Marsabit, and from Marsabit down to Isiolo. When we came into office, that project had been processed together with Gilgil, Mala, Tika Mala, and a payment made for the counterpart funding to support the foreign side, which was coming out of China Exim. So a payment has been made. What we did immediately, because that payment was not enough, was to descope the two projects, the Loyangalani, Marsabit, Isiolo. We descoped it from Gilgil, Thika, Mala. And what that meant is we were able to then take Gilgil, Thika, Mala onto a PPP framework, the PPP I talked about, and it's advancing well. The Loyangalani, Marsabit, Isiolo then remained with a payment which represents 15% of the payment which is required as a counterpart funding, so that we can draw the EXIM funds to be able to build that line. We are further scoping that project to ensure that as we build this line, we are able to step down from 400 to 132 and 66 and be able to service that community. And as we go to Isiolo, we should be able also to step down from the 400 kV through that descoping and ensuring that we service the people of Isiolo, Marsabit, as the line comes down. That is an advanced stage. The descoping work is going on through China Exim. In principle, we are done on the Kenya part, and the payment has been made. So we should be seeing, as soon as we are done with our partners, China Exim and the contractor, the line or the contractor going to site because payment has already been made on the counterpart Kenya portion. And so as soon as we finish with China Exim, we should see not only the big lines being built, but the step down from those high voltages to the voltage that feeds the communities coming out. And together with last mile for the first time, we should see Loyangalani on grid, we should see Marsabit on grid, coming down all the way to Isiolo where we already have a 132 line. Honorable members, we basically would be happy to really see that region on grid on account of the fact that Marsabit is very rich on wind resources, very rich on solar. And as we pull those resources to the significant industry or load centers, we will be servicing the communities, cobbling with the last mile programs where you fund us as Parliament. Regarding the first question on compensation, when we have a major blackout which impacts on the whole country, the point would be to establish the cause and be able to really apportion the blame. Why you had me reading up to the millisecond when the event occurred, is to find out whether did the private investor power plant in Lake Turkana go out first and cause the problem, or was the problem caused by the Juja 220, which came in 100 milliseconds later? So that work is going on, but again, honorable members, when we have a blackout, it is so significant in terms of losses for the country. And like I said, when we have a company like Kenya Power where we are trying to restructure its balance sheet to be able, Kenya Power backstops all the IPPs in terms of the partial risk guarantees that supports power generation for Kenya. And unlike the banks, if one bank goes down, the other banks would be there. So we really need to take care of KPLC, even as we go today to from one market player to an open market where we will be allowing generators to generate power and wheel it to market or to load centers using the wheeling policy, which is shortly being gazetted for purposes of allowing multiple players in the industry. Because when I talked about a market which is unbundled, you should be able to generate your own power in a power plant and get Ketraco to wheel that power to market for you and sell that power to industry, wherever you want to sell in the country. And that then removes the Kenya Power being required to reticulate or transmit and reticulate. So the unbundling is a significant aspect of what we've done in supporting opening up the market so that we then move from a one market buyer where Kenya Power buys all the energy and distributes to an open market where anybody can generate, use Ketraco to wheel the power to market and sell that power to industry, wherever the industry is. A lot of work is still going on in this space of compensation and how much can we compensate when there is something like a national disaster or a major accident. But as regarding challenges where a cabling problem or a transformer caused a problem and Kenya Power is culpable, then that doesn't present a problem in compensation, and we do that from time to time. But when we have a national challenge, like when the whole network goes out because of something that is almost close to a national disaster, it becomes a challenge to say who should compensate, because we would certainly be closing down a company that we need to support the rest of the economy. We need to pay attention to that compensation space, but compensation do happen in where the faults are very specific and pertaining to what could have been avoidable to the extent that Kenya Power would then be able to compensate the affected families or the affected businesses to that extent. So we need to look at how do we then compensate when it is a national challenge, which, if costed, even the entire company could basically go under and therefore cause a problem for the entire country. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Honorable CS. I will now allow members to ask the supplementary questions, and I'll start with Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Swali langu ni kuhusiana na kupotea kwa umeme katika kaunti ya Mombasa, hususan wakati wa mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Mheshimiwa Spika, imekuwa sasa ni jambo la kawaida umeme kupotea mara kwa mara katika kaunti ya Mombasa na maeneo ya karibu, hususan wakati huu ambao tunafanya ibada za usiku wakati wa mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Wengi wanashindwa kuhudhuria ibada hizo kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa umeme, na vile vile pia ni kiusalama. Si rahisi mtu kutoka nyumbani ikiwa hakuna mataa barabarani ambayo yamezimika kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa umeme. Je, waziri ana mipango gani ya kuhakikisha kwamba kwa hizi siku 14 zilizobaki za mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani tutakuwa na umeme, sio Mombasa peke yake, Kenya nzima, ili Waislamu waweze kumuomba Mungu wao bila ya matatizo yoyote? Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable CS.
Asante Senator Faki. Mombasa county ni county moja ambayo umeme inayotumika hapo utokana sana na generation wa thermal. That is where we have most of the thermal power plants. The other generation ile tunaitumia sana Mombasa ni ile inatoka hapo Malindi, Weru hapo nyuma kidogo. We've got a solar power plant inamilikiwa na kampani moja inaitwa Kloblek as an IPP and feeds 50 megawatts to the grid. Pia Mombasa ile moto mingi inapatikana Mombasa ni inatoka Olkaria, pengine the Cascade, ile line ya zamani ya Kamburu inayoenda Mombasa, but majorly geothermal kutoka Olkaria. Tushajenga hiyo line 400 kV, lakini currently we are operating at 220 kV, na hapo Mariakani kuna station kubwa tutafungua hivi karibu, pengine wiki ama mwezi moja mbili hivi. 1 month sio July tutafungua hiyo station ya Mariakani. The challenge in Mombasa, honorable members, is the fact that most generation is happening out of Mombasa, and we are transporting power to Mombasa. And the only heavy generation, particularly coming out of Malindi, ni ile ya jua. Na unajua jua ikipotea kidogo inaanguka, ikirudi inaamuka. But what we are doing to the challenges of intermittence, we are trying to stabilize that power ili kwamba tuhakikishe kwamba Mombasa is well served. Mombasa is well served.
Senator Abdul Hadi, what's your point of order?
Thank you. Thank you, Bwana. Asante sana Bwana Spika. Waziri kidogo ananichanganya. Anaongea Kiswahili, mara anabadilisha kwa Kizungu. So inakuwa ngumu kufuata maneno yake. Siachague moja akae kwa lugha moja, kwa line moja tafadhali. Asante Spika.
Honorable CS. Senator Haji is concerned. And I believe
nitachagua Kiswahili lakini wacha niseme kwanza kwa Kiingereza. So, honorable members, like I said, the challenge in Mombasa is the fact that most of the generation happens out of the region. We transport the power to Mombasa. What happens in Malindi, or the generation out of Weru in Malindi, the solar power plant, you know, most of the renewable plants like wind and solar are associated with intermittence. Intermittence is to say when there is wind, and wind is very good at night, you do very good generation. And when there is no wind, you have to have a replacement to take over and supply the energy, similar to solar. And whereas we support Mombasa majorly with diesel generation, we have built a line, 400 kV line, between Olkaria through to Isinya, Mariakani, and that will service Mombasa adequately with almost 100% renewable energy. Mariakani is being commissioned in July, and because I'm here with my team, Honorable Faki, or honorable members, we've had the challenge during the month of Ramadan. We'll possibly want to do more of what we are doing in Narok Bomet to ensure that there is no overload or constraint in the transmission systems, which occasionally there is, because we are also building a line between Malindi, Weru, Kilifi. The funding is available together with the Narok Bomet from Korea, South Korea, and Africa Development Bank. In fact, we have already gone to tender on the one for Narok Bomet. With that funding, there is so much happening in Mombasa. We recognize Mombasa as an important city, not only during such holy months of Ramadan, but as the gateway, water gateway, not only to Kenya, but to the East Africa region. From the earlier meeting where we today gave the National Treasury a check of 5 billion on account of the profits made by Kenya Pipeline, we were talking to how do we service the region better using our gateway and play that competitive advantage so that that advantage does not go to our neighbors down Dar es Salaam and so on and so forth. So, Honorable Faki, we are paying a lot of attention to Mombasa, the kind of investment coming to the region in transmission, power generation, looking at Dongokundu, where we are going to take a T-line, which is, there's already funding from JICA to Dongokundu, and the kind of infrastructural support, not just because of Mombasa, but to make Mombasa service the whole of East Coast of Africa, is going to be significant. And so we just beg for your support as we walk the journey together to address these challenges, which may not be quite finished during the month of Ramadan. But I want to really beg on my colleagues to ensure that what we talk about in terms of managing the grid, so that we don't have those small outages, given the kind of temperatures and the lifestyle where every household needs air conditioning, and the discomfort during the month of Ramadan is addressed. Thank you.
Senator Abbas Sheikh Mohammed.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask the CS. First and foremost, I want to thank the CS for the first time Mboya is actually, for the month of Ramadan, is getting power supply. Thank you for that. Having said that, Honorable CS, the municipality of Mboya Township actually is expanding, and the machines are getting very old, and it's emitting a lot of heavy emissions and fumes of. And that is causing a lot of pollution. So I don't know what measures can be put in place, because that machine now, the station now is actually surrounded by settlements, and the pollution is just too high. I want you to at least do something if it can be done. To Honorable Speaker, Senate CS, there was a plan for 5 megawatts solar for Wajir. I don't know where that plan has gone. We are anxiously waiting for it. I want to know the situation. And what plan do you have for Wajir? Now that I can hear my colleague here, he's almost getting benefited from the wind power. So I think you should also divert this wind power to Wajir, because it's actually even shorter than taking it back to like Suswa and all this and Amor. So what is the plan for Wajir actually? So to be at the part of the national grid. Otherwise, as it is, the county is growing. We are already experiencing, upcoming of cottages.
Abbas, you've asked your question. Honorable CS, if you could respond.
Thank you, Senator Abbas, and honorable members. As regarding plans we have for Wajir being majorly supported through the COSAP or Kenya off-grid solar system, We've got funding from, there is a retiring OECD funding from Poland, which we are pitching for. We've signed an MOU for that fund of $200 million to come to Kenya to support in the development of areas like Wajir. And I think we are ready as Kenya, and we've submitted that document to the other side. I think we should be signing before end of April to draw that funding. A lot of that funding will support the off-grid systems, but more importantly, members, we are looking at how to connect Garissa on-grid to Wajir. There's also a program of hybridization where Wajir is currently served fully or 100% by thermal generation, diesel generator. What we are doing is putting in a solar plant which can run during the day, and if there was intermittence, then the batteries will be there to support, and the diesel engine can only come on if the solar is challenged when the batteries are not running enough. We did a similar project we are doing similar projects in 7 counties. One which we have commissioned, and the president participated in the commissioning, is Wasini in Lunga, where we have the solar plant, and if the solar is not there, the batteries can run for 3 days, and if the batteries went down, only then the diesel engine comes on. So with those kind of solution, we are evaluating, even for counties like Turkana, how we can move, whether we should move on-grid to Turkana from Lokcha to Turkana, or do we do an off-grid, which is fairly solid, and where a solar plant or a wind plant can run, and if, because of intermittence, the battery system can support for 3 days, and otherwise a diesel generator can come. This is in line with the Kenya commitment to 2030, 100% green energy, and therefore when we talk at 2024 today to 2030 that we need to switch off all those diesel engines, we should be seeing some of the pronouncements I'm making, honorable members, coming into fruition in 26, 27, 28. So we'll continue to work together, but this hybrid system, solar system, that should really run all the time, supported by batteries, and we only fall back to diesel, will actually remove some of those intermittents that we even see today. Because with battery being a good form of storage of power, we should be able to. But again, Honorable Chute, Honorable Apas, the way you have been to my office a few times, we can look at the details of these programs for those off-grid areas and what we are doing together to support our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Ogola Beatrice.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is on a statement that I made last year in May to the ministry, but relevant to the question today on faulty transformers. In my question, Honorable Speaker, I'd asked that the ministry list a number of faulty transformers in Homa Bay County and provide timelines within which the transformers would be replaced. And precisely, Honorable Speaker, the response came in time, the same month from the ministry, which I appreciate so much. And in the response, Honorable Speaker, the CS had given a list of transformers, 84 in number, that were faulty, and went ahead to give 2 lists. One list has 21 transformers that would be replaced by REREC by the 31st of July 2023, and another list was given of 63 faulty transformers that would be replaced by KPLC by the 31st of July 2023. Now my question to the CS is the CS aware that the commitment that was made by the ministry to my response has not been honored, and I would like to know why and when that would be honored. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS, could you respond to the question?
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Beatrice, for that. Allow me, Chair, because this is a very detailed question with 21 transformers, 63 with KPLC, and KPLC is here with me through the CEO, Dr. Siror. I think the challenge in Homa Bay, sometimes when we say the challenge in Bomet, is the transit to Homa Bay, because most of the power that comes to that region comes through Bomet, Kisii, through Kegati, Homa Bay, Awendo. And it's not only a transformer challenge that we are facing in that region, it is compounded by the transmission constraint, and therefore with the power outage, the transformer challenge, the load shedding that I talked about earlier on, impacts in that area heavily. So, Chair, I want to beg to be allowed with the KPLC CEO who is sitting here. REREC gave an apology. The lady, Dr. Rose Mukalama, the CEO for REREC, was supposed to be here with us, but she's attending to something outside Nairobi today, to address this 21 and 63. And like I said, we are in a procurement cycle of so many transformers. If KPLC was to stand and respond on my behalf, they will say as soon as these transformers are delivered, we'll address a number of transformers, not only in Homa Bay, but in the country in terms of replacement. But we also have really need some public awareness and support in terms of the abuse that goes to the transformers. We can bring in a new transformer today, but as we take power to the rural areas, and because we have our TTIs and we have trained our people, they have learned to sometimes illegally do illegal connections, which are not dimensioned, and they overdraw power from the transformer. You can burn the coil and therefore lose a transformer. A transformer today runs for anything up to 1 million shillings, 2 million shillings, depending on the kilowatt rating of that transformer. So the important thing is to ensure that also that customers connected to the transformer are legitimately connected and they are paying their bills, so that they don't take shortcuts and burn a transformer that we could blame on quality of the transformer, and yet it is our culture of wanting to use free power for that purpose. But allow us, Speaker Beatrice, to respond substantively, possibly because of specific question impacting on Homa Bay, to deal with you directly to address what we promised. And like I said, there's a transformer procurement cycle which is just closed. How much can KPLC pick up and correct? I'm sure of the 63, some have been addressed. But any that has not been addressed, not only for Homa Bay, but for the whole country, we allow us to address that, but to respond more specifically to the question of the 21 transformers and REREC and 63 for KPLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Abdul Haji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first take this opportunity to thank the Minister for appearing today and answering the questions of the members, which in reality are questions from the public. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would ideally be asking the Minister in relation to the frequent power outage in Garissa, but I will not ask him that question because it's already been asked by the Senator from Mombasa and Wajir, and it's been addressed. So I would not want him to repeat. But Mr. Speaker, my question was touching on the issue of transformers. The Waziri has explained to us here that they're expecting, they've made some procurement, and for a long period of time in Kenya, we've been told that the problem with Kenya Power and Lighting is usually transformers. So my question, Bwana Waziri, I just want to inquire on whether or not if we have any local manufacturers for transformers in Kenya, and if we have local manufacturers, is the ministry and Kenya Power and Lighting procuring from the local manufacturers? If we don't have any local manufacturers for transformers, what is the ministry doing to talk to local investors, to give them incentives to set up manufacturing plants for transformers, so that we can stop relying on brokers and agents of foreign transformer manufacturers who bring us substandard products from time to time? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Senator Haji. Honorable CS respond, and particularly in line with the second limb of the question, because you've responded to the aspect on the transformers and the power outages.
Thank you again, Speaker. Thank you, Senator Haji. And we'll do our best during this holy month of Ramadan to sustain those areas because of the kind of lifestyle during the month of Ramadan, to make sure that people are comfortable, the air conditioning in our homes are working, and so on and so forth. And like I said, again, I'm here with the CEO for Kenya Power. We are listening, and we will act on that. We have got local transformer manufacturers, and I think today, honorable members, the requirements for importing transformers into the country are so difficult against local manufacturers. In fact, all transformers come out of local manufacturing. I don't know how much local it is in terms of assembly and manufacturing, because transformer would be a coiling. We may not manufacture copper. So the question of how much is raw materials manufactured and how much is assembly. But the point today is all transformers that come into the Kenyan market are locally manufactured, particularly up to a certain kilowatt rating. The big ones that we may not have capacity come from outside, and we are building capacity for the local industry to be able to do that. We've got a very stringent inspection and certification process, and Kenya Power do work with the local manufactured transformer companies to ensure that we support them in this endeavor, and therefore localize, create jobs for our industry. But the point, Mheshimiwa, is it would be difficult. Of 100 new transformers coming into the Kenya market, you may not get 5 imported transformers. It is basically locally manufactured. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Aaron Turiat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I want to congratulate the Minister and his team for a job well done in first responding to questions that have been raised by members, and also the leadership that they are providing to the ministry, listening to the answers. Mr. Speaker, if the Minister can commit and assure us that the plans as he has laid out this afternoon before the House will be delivered, then we're in a good place, and I want to appreciate what they are doing as a team at the ministry. I have one question, Mr. Speaker. When the Minister was responding, Speaker, he mentioned the desire by GOK to move to 100% green energy by 2030 and the plans that entails. I am aware, Mr. Speaker, because previously in my life in this House, I served as a member of the Energy Committee, Mr. Speaker, that there are many people that you can call entrepreneurs, for lack of a better word, who are still holding around, either in Kenya or in the famous capitals of the world, exploration licenses for geothermal, which can help us as a country to access those sites, Mr. Speaker, and be able to bring onshore cheap and affordable power, as opposed to the old generated power, some of which he has mentioned, like the diesel power. When is his ministry going to take decisions against such business people, so that we are able to enjoy cheaper power? Because that was a key promise that this administration made to the people of Kenya, yet that is yet to be fulfilled, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Speaker, and this is of interest to you, so even if you want to throw me out, it is your people of Bomet who will benefit just like my people, and that's not a bribe to you. Can the minister confirm to the House when will they commence the construction of this Narok-Bomet line that will affect all of us that are in the western part of the country to stop this quasi-lead shedding that we continue to see each and every other day? The president made a pronouncement recently in his tour of Bomet, but we want to know when will works commence. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, respond to the two questions. Ordinarily, you ought to have asked one supplementary question, but I exercise the discretion understanding order number 1. So, Honorable CS, proceed to respond to the two questions by the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Senate Majority Leader, for raising what is very important for this country and for the world at large, to pitch our country as a renewable, green, renewable energy country. There will shortly be premium on green steel, green everything in terms of manufacturing, because it supports and addresses the challenges which mitigation on climate change would otherwise be so expensive. Like what we've seen in the very irregular rainfall patterns, the temperatures that we feel today, when it should be sometimes the coldest time of the year, it's very warm, and causing really difficult patterns on even how we do our farming. That commitment of 100% renewable by 2030 is a commitment that has been made at all levels. And Speaker, honorable members, as you are aware, we are today 93% in terms of energy mix renewable. And the 7% is basically the power that we get out of heavy fuel for picking. We don't have a coal plant. We don't have any fossil fuel except for picking in the evening when there is a certain surge of power demand, when industry is working and we light our homes in the evening. And that is only for 4 hours. But the rest of the hours in the day, we run renewable, except for what I said, we need to expire some of the diesel generations in the coast region. But like I said, like has been mentioned by Senator Cheruyot, the expiring PPAs on the diesel generators are not being renewed. I think we made that commitment, and for every expiry of a PPA and they are all coming to an end, we are coming in with renewable energy. We've just been pushing to commission some 70 megawatts out of Meningai, sometimes next year, another 58 megawatts out of wellhead generation from Olkaria. And therefore, our work towards achieving 100%, albeit with the challenges, we're going to walk that journey.
Senator Kay and Senator Faki. Senator Kamau, if you must consult, please consult in low tones for the CS to be heard in silence.
Honorable members, the Kenya Kwanza plan does recognize in one powerful statement that we are going to accelerate the geothermal development in Kenya, which is one of our very, very good base loads. And what we are doing to that end, today we have very significant programs in Suswa to open up Suswa and generate geothermal power out of Suswa. We have about 80 megawatts out of Paka. Paka, honorable members, is in Tiati, and we are going to accelerate building a line from Lesuk to Lesos to pull out that power and generate out of that area. We are working at Paka to open up that area. We've drilled the first well. It is heating up. So there's so much activity in the geothermal development to basically support us, because geothermal is a very good base load in terms of generating all the time and availability. We gave concessions, like the Majority Leader did mention, to some of the private developers. And concession comes with work programs. We are reviewing those work programs which have been attached to the concessions which were given to those private sector players. And if they are not meeting the work programs as signed in the concession, we should be able to have those fields, those geothermal fields, revert back to government. but we are working very closely to ensure that we do achieve that target of 100% renewable. As regarding Narok Bomet, I just whispered and confirmed from Dr. Mativo, the CEO for Ketraco, that we have already gone to tender. You may not have seen in the papers, but a limited, a number of vendors or restricted tenders of 6 companies were approved, were given advance approval by Africa Development Bank, and the 6 bidders are currently responding to those bids. It's closing in another 2-3 weeks. We will award, and instead of building that line in the traditional 24 months, we're going to build it in 12 months. I'm told we have a commitment to deliver that line by 1st of June 2025. So we are working around the clock to make sure that happens. In the meantime, to address that challenge, honorable members, there was a contractor who went bust, who was doing a line from Sondu, Homa Bay, Awendo. We have brought in another contractor who is on site today to basically take power to Awendo through Homa Bay and deload the Chemosid route. We are also, like I said, addressing the load shedding through managing the overloads to ensure that we don't have that challenge. Dr. Siror are doing a bay out of Lesos to take power straight to Moroni so that we don't go through Kibos in Kisumu to again deload Kisumu, Moroni. So there's a lot that we are doing to reduce the challenge in Bomet, Kericho, Kisii, Awendo, so that we don't see the kind of load shedding. Load shedding is not a solution. We need to deload those lines and be able to remove those constraints and ensure our industries, our hospitals, and our homes are lit. So, honorable members, there's a commitment from the CEO who is sitting here with me, Dr. Mativo, that we'll deliver the line by 1st of June 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Abdallah Shakila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question to the CS is that there has been a power outage in Lamu for the last 10 months, Mr. Speaker. This is due to the pylon which was attacked, and it is causing a lot of economic losses. Our health facilities are affected, our dialysis machines are damaged, and many other machines. Our fishing industry is very much affected, and our security is also affected. Mr. Speaker, the minister can tell us when will this pylon be repaired? It has taken 10 months. When will it be repaired? Because we have been suffering, we have written to the directors, we have done a lot, but nothing has been done so far. So maybe today the Waziri can give us the answer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You may respond to the question. And as you prepare to respond to that, maybe I could allow Senator Matinga to ask a supplementary question so that both of them can be answered together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Let me also kick it off by thanking the CS for ably leading, taking leadership in making very hard decisions, especially to bring innovative solutions to the power problem that has been a challenge in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, having noted that, yesterday I was with the head of the state, his president, and His Excellency the President, and we noted that the Polytechnic students are very good, especially in modern technology. One of the students also did a very nice presentation of vandalism protection mechanism, digital one for the transformers. But having said that, I would want to know from the CS, now that we're moving into more demand of electricity, and we know that we have to move to smart meters, is there any intention from the government to ensure that we get local partners, especially learning institutions of higher learning, to train assemblers, manufacturers of these small components that can be made in Kenya so that we save on foreign exchange, and most importantly, also transfer the technology and also ensure that they can be readily available? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me commend the fact that the renewable energy in Kenya is very, very important. But as the majority leader has asked, is the CS aware that there are people who are supposed to be joining grid in 2026 and they have not done anything, and therefore we run a risk of having demand but not a source? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you now could respond to the two questions, one earlier on by Senator Shakila and the one by the chairperson of Energy Committee, Senator Omatinga.
Let me take the challenge from the senator from Lamu, which really was caused by some double tragedy. The El Nino, which caused flooding and brought down some of our poles, but more importantly, and not very loudly, when 3 of our towers were brought down, and you know those towers that were hit. And luckily, we did have some 33 kV line which provided some little relief, but the major 132 line that was hit, and where the DOD has cleared the site, we've now procured a contractor. In the next 1 week, the contractor will be on site to erect those 3 towers that were brought down, and we should be able to restore normalcy in Lamu. And with respect to the flooding, that has not been a major one. I think we are quite advanced, and Senator Fausia, Shakila, I know Shakila very well. We've come a long way. So we will be able to address that. We'll be able to address that in a short while. In another 1 week, since the site has been cleared, we'll be able to bring those 3 towers up and restore normalcy in Lamu. Thank you, Senator Omatinga. With respect to what we've done as a government in bringing up our TVETs, addressing the challenge of our youth to be able to employ our youths from our polytechnics. This is a question which goes along with the transformer. If we are assembling transformers or manufacturing transformers, I want to assure you also that the few meters that still come to Kenya, unassembled or not being reworked in Kenya, are not because we don't have a policy. The policy today, if you go to a number of warehouses in industrial area, they are not warehouses. We are having semi-knockdown kits. We are assembling, we are testing our meters, our digital meters in industrial area, and CEO Kenya Power can confirm that, RERE can confirm that, and as we roll out our capacity and students from the Polytechnic, the TVETs, I can assure this House that there'll really be opportunities in these areas of technology to even go into manufacturing the more detailed components as opposed to just assembling. So, honorable members, we are already on it. There's a policy framework in Kenya Power that meters ought to be local. Transformers should be local. And when there is no room almost for competition against a local manufacturer today. So we are working on that. I want to confirm that it would be an exercise in futility if our TVETs are churning out our youth and we are importing some of these things that can be locally manufactured, locally assembled in our country. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Waziri. Jackson Mandago.
The IPPs, let me touch on the IPPs which are on the East Coast Power Development for delivery of power in 2026. Senator Omatangi chairs the Energy Committee. We'll possibly invite you in the next 1-2 weeks in a session that we are planning to sit down with all the IPPs to confirm whether they can sign on the cost of delivery, unit cost of per kilowatt that is acceptable to us. The delivery, the COD, what we call the date of commissioning or commercial operation date of 2026, because the way we run the LCPD, Least Cost Power Development Plan, members, is we match demand with supply. We don't generate what we don't need. And therefore, it's a chicken and the egg question. Do you develop power when there's no demand, or do you generate demand and then you develop power? In which case, the industry may not be willing to wait for you to spend 3 years to build a power plant if they are ready to invest. So it sometimes can be an impediment to developing industry. So what we'll be doing, my chair, in a short while, is calling all the IPPs who have been scheduled to deliver in 2024, 25, 26, and 27. That is the tariff period that has been provided by EPRA in the current tariffs that are levied by Kenya Power, to confirm that they will all fulfill their CODs. And if they can't meet their CODs, there are other generators outside 26 or 27 who are willing to come in and be able to support us to ensure that the demand is not suppressed because we are not able to supply the energy or the power in good time. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Waziri. Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to take the CS back on the matter of blackout. What was the reason that there was blackout in the better part of Monday in Nairobi, to the extent the operations of Nairobi Funeral Home and Mbagathi Hospital, Honorable Speaker, didn't have power? And what are the plans, Honorable CS, to ensure that level 4 and level 5 facilities, health facilities, that the government intends to place equipment to support the rollout of BHC in ensuring that they have 3-phase power? A case example is West Pokot level 5 hospital that doesn't have 3-phase, and they have equipment that have been installed for the last 7 years without being utilized because of lack of power. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Today is Wednesday. I think Monday is the day when some of us did not get home because everywhere was flooded because of the heavy rains. And we had a circuit breaker going off in our Nairobi West substation, which was restored very quickly, and power resumed. When there were the kind of floodings which even blocked expressway, honorable members, it is something that, but again, like I've said before, we are paying attention to ensure that we reduce or we eradicate the blackouts completely, which are caused by events which are avoidable. And then we are going to pay attention to that. As regarding our public institutions which are not on power or not on 3-phase, we've made a commitment that there's absolutely no reason why we are 75%, 77% access on power. That basically means power is within reach. And yet, public institutions, schools, high schools, primary schools, dispensaries and hospitals are not on power. So what we've done in the budget that we currently are rolling out and working with members of parliament, and a number of you have come with the members of parliament for your areas to my office as a county group, is to prioritize all the public institutions and ensure that they are on power. Where there is need for 3-phase, there's got to be, and 3-phase within access. In terms of the grid, we need to provide that power, and we have that commitment. There's absolutely, primary schools are center of habitation. Schools are not in isolated areas. And therefore, when we provide a transformer to serve a school, the communities around the schools through maximization are serviced. And if we do the adjacent school, the pockets that are out of 600 meters because of the resistance of the lines and the fact that we don't want to have too much power losses because of very long cables, can then be patched with transformers and provide 100% connectivity to the country. We are working hard to see whether through the funding coming through Parliament, the support coming through Parliament, the support coming through our development partners, we can accelerate connectivity in Kenya and come close to 100% by the year 2030, the same year we are saying we need to be 100% renewable. So some of those programs where you are pushing the CS to do, you will come to my office today and find that the programs you decide to be done are already on our programs, because that is the job you have given us to do. So we are working, Honorable Senator Mandago, to ensure that all public institutions, not just that one hospital in West Pokot, are on power. Because medicine like insulin in an hospital, how do you preserve medicines in an hospital if there is no power? So as a priority, before we go to our villages, there is no reason why any public institution today in Kenya is not on power to be able to support the livelihoods of the people around that region. So we have that commitment and we are working on that. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Waziri. Senator Oginga Oburu.
Thank you. Thank you, Waziri, for energy. Now, I just want to ask one question concerning my county, Siaya. Mr. Minister, we have a plant, a rice plant, between Busia and Siaya, but the plant is within Siaya County. This plant is a new plant. It has been constructed and completed, and the farmers have a lot of rice, which have just been harvested. The paddy is dry, and it is thousands and thousands of bags. I went there, Mr. Speaker, and I witnessed the way the desperation of the farmers, because they don't have, the mill cannot be opened, and yet it is complete, and the farmers now risk either losing that crop or taking it to Uganda for milling, which is very expensive. And the reason why the plant cannot be commissioned is because of three-phase. The power is already there, but it needs to be upgraded to three-phase. And I'm pleading with the minister to take some action to make sure that this plant, at least they upgrade it from phase 1 to phase 3, so that the farmers can benefit. Mr. Speaker, there is also the industrial park within the same area in Siaya, just adjacent to Siaya town, which was commissioned by CS Kuria some few months ago. It is also completely dysfunctional because of upgrading the power from phase 1 to phase 3. So these are the two big projects in Siaya, and the only ones. Mr. Speaker, I hope that the minister is going to take note and take some action to ensure that these projects start functioning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Waziri. We are going to take two more questions because of time, and then maybe you can answer all the three, and we see if we can cover more ground. Senator Samson Cherargei, and then followed by Senator Nderitu John Kinyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I want to thank Cabinet Secretary for Energy, Mheshimiwa Chirchir, for always working in silence and doing wonders. He's one of the CSS that normally works in silence, but is very effective and efficient. Mr. Speaker, mine are just brief question. Waziri, could it be the reason of faulty transformers that is causing regular power outage? Makiu, I was in, over the weekend, I was in Kapcherop Township, Waziri, and in that township, they can lose up to 2 days without electricity. And tying up, when you go to a place called Kabwareng and Terik Ward, some of your officers from Kenya Power and Lighting, they go ahead and if they get, and you remember the president had given direction that if they get any Kenyan who was regularly or irregularly, let me not say illegally, were connected to power, it was supposed to be regularized. But when you go to Nandi County, some of your officers go ahead, especially in Aldai, to just go and remove, even including the post of the Kenya Power and Lighting and also removing meters instead of regularizing? What are you doing to arrest such situation? And Waziri, we wish you well as you continue doing wonders in the Ministry of Energy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From onset, I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary and the Permanent Secretary for a good job they are doing. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that transformers are of different capacities. And knowing that the CS is an expert in the areas of technology, I just wanted to know in his office whether he has a dashboard and he can tell how many transformers we have in Laikipia, their capacity, and how many people are supplied by those transformers. I'm saying that because you go to some areas, Mr. Speaker, you find there are transformers, but they are only supplying 2 people. You go to other areas, you find a transformer that is even overloaded. So I wanted to know whether the minister, and I know he's an expert in the area of technology, whether from his office he can tell how many transformers we have in Laikipia and how many people are supplied by each transformer. So in totality, he can tell how many people are supplied in Laikipia and how many transformers we would want so that we can have 100% coverage of people of Laikipia by power. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
CS, you can answer. And please keep the answers short so that we can take a few more questions before 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, members. Honorable Oburu, the answer is yes. We're going to pay attention to this rice scheme in your county towards Busia. Food security is paramount. I think that is the very reason why when the fiscal, what do you call the country was facing the dollar liquidity challenge because of the tightened monetary policy, Fed running the U.S. interest investments in the U.S. at almost 5.5%. We didn't have dollars, and it is unfair, unfortunate that we have to use our dollars to import food, things we can easily grow. So I've just consulted with Kenya Power Lighting, the design for the scheme to support that rice scheme is finished. It's more of upgrading to 3-phase. The same question goes to the industrial park. The CEO is here with me. We're going to follow up and make sure that because we are not building a new network, even if the harvest is now, we can be able to support the people in that rice scheme within the season, because upgrading is not a matter of months. It can be done in a few days. So we look at the funding aspect to be able to do that upgrade. The only challenge that we face is, honorable member, sometimes we handle KPLC as a social company. You know, we've got 49.9% investment listed in the stock market and Nairobi Securities Exchange. And therefore, when Kenya Power goes to the ground and give an invoice or a bill for a transformer, we should, if we are able to support them with payments, they should be able to connect immediately. But in terms of extending the network to the area, that is our responsibility because it's commercial. They'll get revenue by pulling the network to where the business is so that they can sell more power. So, Mheshimiwa Oburu will follow up that. I'm here with Dr. Siror and possibly even give you an individual call to make sure that that has been done. Senator Cherargei, really, this transformer challenge is a big challenge for us, and we need a lot of support. During the days when there were no meters and schemes have been built by REREC and there's been no meter, there was no meter because of the challenge of the legal issues of meter procurements, which the country faces sometimes. Clients sometimes learn to, or they were connected irregularly to consume power without a meter. I'm sure you are aware that sometimes we've tried to connect meters and our officers have not been allowed to go in to connect meters, because if you can consume it for free, why do you want to allow somebody to come and put in a meter? And so sometimes it forces us to disconnect power at the transformer to allow, to encourage them to allow us to go in and address because otherwise we close down Kenya Power if they have to pay the generators and yet they have not collected the revenue. So that's one challenge we've had. It is more prevalent in some counties. I don't want to name which ones. We even have situations where illegal networks have been built and they pose risk. Sometimes poles which you find have fallen out in a particular area. It's not a network of Kenya Power. And that's why you see us coming and cutting down a pole. You would ask yourself, is Kenya Power out of their mind to be pulling down a pole? Some of those poles are not our poles. And it portends security challenge to the people when people have gone out of the way completely and even put in a small network connected to a transformer which is being overloaded because it's an irregular network. It's an illegitimate, illegal network, and therefore overloaded transformer cause a problem to the legitimate customers who are properly connected, and therefore we really want to appeal for the political leadership to work with us in supporting Kenya Power to also get revenue so that we can extend the network to some of the areas like the rice field that Honorable Oburu has talked to. The dashboard, but again, we'll follow up Honorable Cherargei. We have had Kapcherop, Kapwareng, and Terik. We will follow up and pay attention to those areas you mentioned. And if there are others that you want us to follow up on, we'll be happy to do that. With respect to Mheshimiwa Kinyua, Senator, we have a dashboard, but you can imagine if it was in the Cabinet Secretary's office, the dashboard for Kenya Power, the dashboard for KenGen, the dashboard. We have serious dashboards. I would like to encourage Honorable Matangi to invite some of the honorable members to come to our National Control Center. We have a dashboard and we see the whole country in one room. And so we follow up what's happening all the time. And when we see a bit of an overload, we are able to pull down to ensure that the network doesn't go down because of an overload. What we call managing that reactive situation where there's an overload. And therefore, with respect to, then why do we have transformers which are connecting one person? And the point is, yes, we have a transformer for 25 kVA, 50 kVA, and when customers apply for power, we do provide, depending on the funding scheme, a transformer, not necessarily which will serve one person, but a transformer that can serve that local community and do maximization. We currently are doing a very heavy maximization program with some funding from EIB, European Investment Bank, EU, European Union, and Africa. Is that Africa Development Bank or the French Bank? AFD. And we have another AFD3. The first one is 22 billion. We have another 15 billion on OFD3, which is currently being rolled out, and a lot of them are on maximization. So where you see one person, 2 persons, 10 persons being connected, if that transformer can service 70 people, 80 people, 100 persons, we have done surveys. Some of the plants have been finished, and we are working very closely with the members of parliament to maximize. A lot of this money I've just spoken to are going to maximization, and therefore more utilization of that asset that currently is not sweating because it is serving a few people when it should be serving a larger number or maximized to that extent. In fact, the last mile is becoming more easy in the highly populated areas because we're just doing maximization. Of course, the last mile is more difficult where we have reached today as we service the more difficult areas.